Now, it's honestly insane to think that we only have one episode left of Tokyo Revengers before they hopefully announce a season 2, either within next week's episode or shortly after, because this show is just, the story, the characters have continued to blow me away. And it's no real surprise that this episode almost acted like a calm before the storm, because we've been dealing with so much shit. The Kazutora stuff, the Mikey, is he gonna go off the deep end? We needed a breathing episode, and from the bonding with Draken and Takemichi thinking he's about to lose his virginity, before Draken's like, God damn it, why can't I leave you alone for 2 seconds? To the idea of having a jacket personally made because not only did you help Baji, the person I love and care for the most, you seriously have done a number for this gang, and I want to show you my support. As we set up the most important meeting for Takemichi's life based on what Draken has said, a part of me thinks that, Takemichi's gonna end up getting someone like Kisaki's role, because given the fact that this meeting is supposedly about bringing these two gangs, their dispute, their hatred, we're cutting it, and the tension is definitely gonna be high. Will it work out? Anyone's guess. But the idea that Mikey and him made a promise, right? If you bring Baji back, then I'll grant your request. So who's going to fill the role? And while Takemichi might not be the most physically fit fighter in the group, in fact, he's probably the worst, he is someone who has definitely changed fate. Even without knowing he's a looper, they can see the influence he's had on the gang, and that's exactly what you would want from a leader of different divisions, right? So are they actually going to remove him? Is Kisaki going to go back to Valhalla? There's a lot of uncertainty here, and I really don't know which way they're going to commit. That's what makes it so terrifyingly exciting, because Mikey is a wild card. It doesn't matter if we get cute bonding with who turns out to be his sister. The dude is a menace, and if you go on his bad side, shit can go wrong. Now, Takemichi's not going to get killed or anything like that, but you never quite know, right? You never know what demands will be said on the other side, and if those demands are negative towards Takemichi, how would Mikey respond to the person who clearly has his best interests in mind? Really, it's anyone's guess. And I really like that. I mean, I'm excited to see what type of cliffhanger or ending they'll end episode 24 on, because this is going to be the spiciest moment outside of a character death or potential character death I find. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if in the middle of this meeting, the other gang is like, yeah, actually, we're just here to kill you, and someone ends up dead, right? You never quite know, and that's part of the excitement about Tokyo Revengers, is that the spice is never spicy enough for this author, so there's always more spice getting added to that mix. Now, the cute moments and the funny moments and just the slice of life moments were definitely needed. I mean, this show has done a good job. I mean, just look back, I think one of my favorite points, if not my favorite cute kind of slice of life in the middle of Heat, was when Draken and Mikey were not on good terms, but they both came to see Takemichi, and they had that, they just kept breaking his shit. It knows how to, relieve the tension after experiencing some heartache, and this is an episode that does exactly that. The idea that Draken's only ever invited Mikey over to his home, completely forgot that he lived at a brothel, so the idea of him just sitting down, having to wait as Draken does some chores around the brothel, which is an insane thing to say out loud, but you gotta love Tokyo Revengers. And when that man went off to the bathroom, and one of the prostitutes came out and assumed Takemichi was there, I love how he actually thought that it was Draken's way of rewarding him, and it makes sense. Sometimes Takemichi's line of thought, you can say, man, how did you get that way? But given the circumstances, you saved Mikey, this and that, we're at a brothel, kind of all lines up. And this poor boy, I mean, he's letting his teenage lust take control, forgetting that he does have a girlfriend. And, I mean, he was jumping head first. And the fact that Draken opened the door and was just, ashamed, being what in the actual hell? And the transition from this girl being from that kind of schoolgirl adorable to just I don't know, old soccer mom smoking a cigarette, just has a rough voice. I'm Takemichi, my man, you gotta stop thinking with your dick. You gotta keep going with that head mentality, but you gotta love Takemichi. And just seeing his room and really getting a sense that Draken cares for Takemichi, I think that's going to go a long way, especially considering that, I mean, he's been a wild card for a while, but I think both Mikey and Draken have recognized that Takemichi, despite him being a lunatic and saying some weird-ass shit because they don't know he can loop, at the end of the day, he clearly has the gang's best interest in mind, and I think they would definitely die for Takemichi, given what we've seen so far, or at the very least, put their life on the line for him. Now, the idea of, Emma I wasn't sure if it was going to go the sister route. That was like my biggest thought, but I also was just thinking like she was just very much happy that, Mikey keeps Draken alive and they're just good friends. Like there was no way it was actually going to be a romantic conflict. That'd be the dumbest thing ever for a show like this. To have Mikey like steal Draken's girl makes absolutely no sense. But having like Sherlock Holmes, Hina and Takemichi and just the brother, like, that was some great content building up. Basically, from their perspective, looks like very bad things are occurring. Draken's popping up all pissed off. And then you get the reveal that while they don't have the exact same mother and father, they do share a father, right? So that's how they're actually related. And it kind of makes sense given like they do have some similarities, and I'm really glad about that revelation because I don't think anyone would have been okay if they went from like really well written character drama to just Mikey decided to cheat on Draken's girl. That'd be the dumbest thing ever, so I'm glad they went more with like the sibling route and Draken just making fun and poking fun while showing that he genuinely cares for Emma given that he got her the bear that she wants. Just good stuff across the board, and just, the idea of like so many of these badasses just have such a soft side outside of their gang lifestyle. It makes them a lot more rootable rather than just being, oh, they're delinquents and they're shitty people who hurt people like some that we've seen in different gangs, where you have certain characters who are a part of a craft club where they sew and do these different things despite being a badass on the streets. It's just great shit across the board. I'm honestly not going to be surprised in the slightest if next week's episode is entirely that meeting location. Given the tension and how much should need to be said, I really think, while I don't see them completely ending on a cliffhanger, I mean, they could, don't get me wrong. It almost feels like most of the episode will be that meeting, stakes will be high, and whether it implodes or ends pretty solid. At the same time, I don't think it's going to be like, oh, Mikey gets stabbed and we have to wait for season 2 to know, something like that, right? But the idea that had Takemichi, right, not stopped Kisaki from letting Mikey kill him, right? This meeting could have easily gone in the future direction that we know about. So given that it changed, Mikey's persona is better than it would have been. Meaning that I don't think this is going to go in Kisaki's way that he wants, and I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if Takemichi gets his role or gets promoted, because as it stands, he's just a grunt underneath one of the leaders, right? So even if he may not deserve it, that's still the line I'm thinking of, but either way, I think Mikey respects the hell out of Takemichi, and it will be very intense to see where that meeting goes, because it's not going to go in the direction where certain characters want, and it's not going to go in the direction I don't think we can even predict, so that's going to be exciting. Tokyo Revengers has definitely been one of the most impressive series I've experienced. I said it before, I'll say it again. There's only been a very select series that I've ever, foamed at the mouth needing to see more as soon as the anime ended, and Tokyo Revengers is up there. So please, for the love of God, give me that season 2 announcement within at least a month's time, because otherwise I'm going to have to read the manga, and then I'm not going to be able to go in as blind when the season 2 eventually rolls around, right? But incredible stuff, voice acting, comedy, drama, emotional development, completely on point. Thoughts and feelings are down below. Your predictions if you don't know the source material for next week's episode. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.